So this is actually going to be like very similar to what we did last week on Thursday. The only difference is the shape. So on Thursday, on 2.2, it was a rectangular prism. Meant that the sides of the prism were always going to form a rectangle. This time, the sides of your prism are going to be triangles. So like your top and your bottom, or your two sides, depending on how they're holding the prism, will make a triangle. Like that. Where last day, it was always making a rectangle on the sides. Cool, that's really the only difference. If you're looking at it, when you fold it onto a net, you'll notice that these sides, like this guy right here, the front and the back, still makes a rectangle. It's just now, instead of having 4 rectangles, a front, a back, a side, and a side, we're going to have 3 sides like this. And they're not going to be identical this time. The reason they're not identical this time is because the triangles aren't always going to be equilateral triangles. Equilateral triangles means all the sides are the same. Right? So our concept of keeping things in line and knowing which side is which is going to be a little trickier with this question because not everything's the same. Where rectangular prisms, things were always almost the same. We could just double them all the time and we were good. So it's a little bit trickier. Really not that crazy though. We're going to try this question right now together. So I'm going to erase all that. We're going to try to find the area of this triangular prism. Area meaning if you painted the outside, right? If you want to cover the outside of the shape. To do that, we like to break it into different sections. I'm going to start with the front rectangle. Well, it says rectangle A, so I should really do... That's okay. I'm going to do the front one anyway. I'm going to do this front rectangle right here. If I want to do the area of the front side that's right in front of me, I want to do its length times its width. So across the bottom, it's 31 times its width, or its height in this case, which is 40. And that would give me area of the front face, like the one that's like right in front of me. If you put that in your calculator, you should get 1240. Nice. Oh yeah, it's on the net. That's perfect. So that's the area of the thing that's right in front of me. The next area I'm going to try is I'm going to try the area of one of the other rectangular faces. I'm going to do the back left one. So if I'm looking at it like this in a picture, this is the back left one. I'm kind of highlighting it in blue. If I wanted to try to do the area of that back corner, you're going to do its length times its width, which is a little bit more awkward to see. Yeah, Bryce? Yep. So if you're looking at this one's length and width, the 29 would be across, so we'll call that its length. Its width would be this. This one right here that I'm trying to kind of darken. Finding that height isn't labeled for you. So you're going to have to look around to see if there's an equivalent line somewhere else that gives the same height. If you look, this height is going to be the same. That one's 40. So we're doing 29 times 40. If you throw that, you get 1160 in your calculator. And I now have the front side and the back left side. Yeah.
So that 18 centimeters that we feel like the triangle?
Yeah, that 18 centimeters that they have labeled in there, that's them telling you the height or the depth of that triangle. They're trying to give you this line right here in red. Yeah. That's the 18. Yeah. Awesome. The third rectangle, if I was to draw it, the third rectangle is back here. If I want to do the area of that guy, I want to do the width, which would be 20, times its height, which would be this 40. 20 times 40 is 800. I now have done the front, the back left, and the back right. So I've done all the sides. Now my goal is to do the triangle, like the top and the bottom. To do the triangles properly, you have to remember the formula for area of a triangle? Anybody remember what it is? Yeah.
I was just going to say A times B.
Yeah. Well, close. Base times height. I heard you say B, and I was like, base, yeah. Base times height divided by 2. That's your formula for a triangle. So if we want to figure out the area of the triangle, let's do the bottom one first, because that seems like the easiest one. Remember when we're talking height, we're talking like from the top of the triangle straight down. We don't want to do slant heights. So for us, the height is 18. The base is across the bottom side, which is 31. So our base was 18. Our height was 18 times our base, which is 31, divided by 2. Now, because we have two triangles and the triangles will be identical, what could we do with that? To figure out the other triangle really quickly. Yeah, times by 2. Right, so this is the area of one triangle, times by 2, because I have two triangles. If you put that into your calculator, 18 times 31 divided by 2 times by 2 is 558.
558.
Yep, 279, and then double it, because we have two triangles, would be 558.
So in other words, don't divide it.
Yeah, you could just like not divide it by 2, and that would do the same thing.
And not multiply it.
Yep, because they're like opposite of each other, right? Yeah. What we just did was we calculated all the individual sides, all the faces. If you want to figure out the area of the whole shape, what do you do with all those numbers?
Times all together.
Yeah, you just add them all up.
Dang it.
And that will tell you the total surface area. In our case, you go,
I know.
what'd you get?
Is
Is that what you got, Jake?
Yep.
You get 3,758. Same stuff, right? Like this is pretty much identical to what we did last week. The shape's a little different. There's a few more calculations because the rectangles aren't identical. But it's the same concept, which is kind of nice. Perfect. I'll do one more with you, then you're going to try a couple on your own. So if you look at example 1 here, we have our triangle prism. Looking at that, I know it's a triangular prism because the top and bottom are triangles. Right there.
The pieces of cake, actually.
Yeah, and those are identical triangles. The other sides are rectangles. I'm going to start with the rectangles. There's 3 of them. You could do them in any order you want. I'm going to choose to do the top one first. So this rectangle right here. If I want to figure out the area of that rectangle, I do its length times its width. So one side times the other side. So 7.5 times 5. And that would give me the area of the first one, which is 37.5. I'm going to do the area of the left rectangle now. You can do whatever order you want. I'm just going in order that makes sense to me. So if I want to do the area of the left rectangle, and I'm picturing it, the left rectangle is here. Its height, or one of its sides, is 4.5. And neither of the other sides are labeled, right? Like the bottom across here is not labeled, and the top across here is not labeled. So your goal is to figure out an equivalent line that would give you that measurement. If I look at this line right there, it's equivalent to this one, which was 5. So I would have 4.5 times 5. Should give you 22.5, I believe. Anyway, try that. Keep me honest. Good, good.
No, she's lying.
She wouldn't lie. If I try the other one, the bottom rectangle looks like this. You want to do a length times a width, so I have 6 times 5. 6 times 5 is 15. No, it's not. It's 30. Yep.
30. Wow, bro, that's insane.
We've now done the rectangular sides, which is, I just find those are the easiest ones to do. That's why I do them first. And the order doesn't matter. So if you want to do the bottom one first, that's cool. If you want to do the top one, whatever. As long as you're doing all 3 rectangles. Notice that they're all different sizes, right? So don't try to do the trick of timesing by 3 or something like that, because the rectangles are different sizes in most of the questions. You should now be left with the top and the bottom, or the front and the back, depending how you want to look at it. But you're left with these rectangles, or these triangles. Our formula for area of a triangle is base times height divided by 2. So for us, the base is 6 times the height, which is 4.5, then divided by 2. And because there's 2 triangles, we can times our answer by 2, and that will tell me the area of both triangles, which is 27.
Would you just not divide it by 2? Because if you just divide it by 2 and then times it by 2, you actually.
Yep, so like this divided by 2 and this times by 2 cancel each other out. So if you don't want to do that calculation, you see that, that's cool. If that confuses you and you want to do the calculation, do the calculation. Yes, sir. With every side, because that's what we just found, you then add them up. When you add them up, what do you get? Thank you, sir. 117. And again, if you do want to do units, which we don't stress units, it's centimeters squared. I'm really not worried about the units. Okay, all I care about is the number if I'm marking things. So I want 117 to be boxed.
Okay, I'll put it in the boxing match.
If you make a what?
Halo.
Give it a shot.
What?
Why? Okay, try the next 2 on your own. Going through it. So I'll go through this second one. It's kind of hard to picture this one. So I'm going to just like describe some parts of it first. The front triangle right here is 8 by 10 by 6. Okay, like those are the 3 sides of that triangle. The 20 represents this long side, which is in 3 different spots. Those 3 spots that I just colored in blue are all 20. They're the long length. Awesome. Now that I've got it kind of drawn out, I can hopefully start to calculate all the sides. When you're calculating the sides, I'm going to start with the right side, the one I can't really see. I think it's that hidden back right side. If I wanted to do that guy, it would be 20 because that's the long side times 8 because that's the side going down. 20 times 8. If I calculate that, that gives me 160. The second side that I'm going to try to calculate is the front side, the one that's like I can actually see, or the left side of this rectangle. Across the top is 20, and then its width, the other side, is 6, which equals 120. Then I'm going to try to do the bottom, like the floor of the thing, basically, like underneath. Underneath, I have 10 across here. And this is 20. So 10 times 20, or 20 times 10, which is 200. That represents my 3 rectangular shapes. The order that you do them doesn't matter. So if you calculate them in a different order, that's fine. But make sure that you're just calculating all 3 of them. The next side that I haven't done yet is my triangle. looking at my triangle. I try to draw it in red here. Sometimes people get confused about the base and the height. Mainly because we talk about like not doing slant height or something like that and making sure you get the right sides. So if you looked, they gave you the little like 90-degree marker right there in the corner. Right here. They put a little 90-degree symbol. That means if you were to take that same triangle and either stand it up on one of those sides, it would look like this. 90 degrees, 6, 8, 10. 10 is one of my slant heights. It is not my actual height. It's also not my base. You could turn this triangle and you'd have 8 and 6 flipped, and that's fine, but you can't have 10 as the base or as one of the heights because it's not coming off that 90. So when I'm doing my triangles, it's 8 times 6 divided by 2. And because there's 2 triangles, I times it by 2. Which gives me 48.
Times.
The triangle is the hardest part because the base and the height have to be specific numbers. They have to be 8 and 6. You cannot use 10. 10's on a slant. Yeah, Joe. 8 times 6. Oh, you've added them all up? So if you take all those answers, you add them all up. 528. I agree with you, Joe.
It's 528.
We already said that.
Well, I'm sorry.
Gentlemen. All right. I'm going to give you another opportunity to try the next question. I'm not going to give you long. Okay, so you got about a minute just to attempt it. There should be no talking. You're trying it on your own. Okay, this one's a little tricky, and they get tricky with knowing what sides are what. So it does tell you it's an isosceles triangle. Isosceles triangle means 2 sides the same. If you look at the bottom, it shows you which 2 are the same. This side and this side are both 3.2. Awesome. Going from there, I'm going to calculate the rectangles first because I find that easiest. So if I want to calculate the area of the front rectangle, let's start with the front. It would be here times here. That would be 3.2 times 10. Now, some of you multiplied that by 2. The reason you could multiply by 2 is because 2 of the rectangles are the same. This rectangle and the other rectangle on the right side are the same. So you could times it by 2, but you don't have to. So if you got an answer of 32 for the front, you could then repeat it for the right side to get another 32. And that's fine. If you just doubled it, that's fine too. Right? It's kind of your choice. 3.2 times 10. My next one that I'm going to do is the backside rectangle. So the backside rectangle is right here. I'm using the base of the rectangle times the side of the rectangle. That would be 3.0 times 10 for 30. Those are my 3 rectangles around the side. You then should have 2 triangles. Hit her.
Is it 3.0 times 10?
Yep. The rectangles, you want to do the base times the height. In this case, the base is 3, and the height is the 2.8. And if you divide it by 2 and times it by 2, you'll get your answer 8.4. The reason we divide by 2 is because that's actually the formula, right? Base times height divided by 2. The reason we times by 2 is because there's two triangles. One on the top, one on the bottom, and those triangles are the same. You should get these 4 answers. If you add them all up, you should get 102.4.
No,
No.
it's 2,508,000.
You want to add them. Add them all. Add them all.
Oh, that's time. Sorry. 32 plus 13 plus. Dang it.
Your goal should be to try to figure out where you're going wrong. That's why I'm giving you a chance to try it together and then go through it together.
Still not right.
We'll look after.
What is it?
102.4.
102.
Okay, we're going to do example 4 together. It says it's an equilateral triangular prism. Equilateral means that all the sides are the same. If you look, they've done that for you. They've shown you with the 3 lines. They're saying the triangle sides are all the same. They're all going to be 7 because that's one triangle each. They're all the same. That means you could use some tricks. So I'm going to do this one of the trick to make you go a little faster. So I'm going to try to find the rectangles first. When I look at the first rectangle, it's going to be 5 times 7. And that'll be the ground rectangle, the one on the ground. If I look at the other rectangles, they're all going to be the exact same because it's an equilateral triangle, right? This one would also be 5 times 7, and this one would also be 5 times 7. So if one side or rectangle is 5 times 7, and I have 3 of them that are all the same, I could just times by 3 to make this go faster. That'll give me my 3 rectangles. 5 times 3 times 7 is 105. And that gives me my rectangles on the outside. I then can do my triangles. My triangles are going to be the same. I want to do base times height. So base is 7. The height is 6.1. They gave it to me. So 7 times 6.1, base times height, divided by 2, times by 2 because there's 2 triangles. And that should give you 42.7. Awesome. So you actually have to do 2 calculations for this one. If you see the trick that things are the same, right? You can just double them or triple them depending on how many of the same thing there is. If you add those together, that'll give you 145.7, 147.7. Awesome. Example 5. A triangular prism has a total surface area of 76 centimeters squared. So this is a word problem. When I do word problems, I like to try to draw a picture if I can, if it just gives me side lengths like it did last day. Or if it's giving me information, I try to pull out the information that matters. That's where highlighting can come in handy. So if you're reading this, it says a triangular prism. That at least tells me the shape of what I have. If you want to draw it, draw 2 triangles that look the same.
Okay.
Or 1 triangle and just draw lines straight down. That would work too. You have a triangular prism. Has a total surface area of 76. So they're telling me what all the outsides are. If you added them all up, it would equal 76. So I'm going to say area equals 76. If the total area of the rectangular faces is 42, so they're telling me the 3 rectangles is 42. Rectangle area equals 42. What is the area of each triangle? I find with the math questions that writing out what you want to know is important, because sometimes it's really hard to know what it's asking you for. Like, it's somewhere in the question, you read it, and then you kind of miss it. So for me, especially math moving forward, it's important to be able to draw out what you're looking for. And I always write it to myself. So I write triangle area equals question mark. That's what they wanted. What is the area of the triangular faces? Awesome. If we think about this, they've told me the total area, which is 76. Then they've given me 3 of the sides, so they've given me the 42. If I subtract the 42 from the total area, that leaves me with the triangle faces. Right? Because I'm subtracting away those rectangular sides. So 76 minus 42 would equal 34. That 34 represents both triangles. The question asked, what is the area of each triangular face? That means they want to know one triangular face. Jake? Divided by 2. So if 34 is both, if you divide that by 2, 34 divided by 2, it tells you the area of one triangle.
Don't you just love math?
I do love math. Awesome. You will see word problems of some sort throughout this unit. They might be ones like that. They might be ones like we did last day where we actually had to draw some out. We did those can ones, right? Where you had to paint the outside. How many cans did you need? So they can get a little bit complex when it comes to the word problems. I would definitely practice those and ask for help on them because they're hard. Awesome. The rest of class.